Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Iskra Stamenkowska, and I'm an associate consultant for ELT Consultants. I'd like to talk about Strand 5, practitioners' working conditions. More specifically, I'd like to discuss the following issues affecting both private and public ELT education: health and safety, decent pay, gender parity, L2 and L1 English users. Teaching is in the educational services sector, and a 2018 global poll by the Varkey Foundation found significant differences in the social status of teachers between countries. It suggests that teachers have a higher social status in East Asia than they do in Europe or the Americas. The major economies of China and Brazil are also located at the highest and lowest ends of the global teacher status index. The research also found out that the majority of people underestimate how many hours teachers actually work, as well as how much they're really paid. In 28 of the 35 countries surveyed, teachers are paid less than what would be considered a fair wage. In all but 6 of the countries, the general public underestimated, often considerably, the number of hours teachers work per week. This raises immediate concerns as the educational sector as an industry does not appear to have the same status as other professions with robust, legally underpinned safeguards for pay and conditions. Now let's consider some basic health and safety issues. All ELT professionals need to feel comfortable and safe in their workplace. While ELT teachers everywhere deserve a safe environment to teach in, just as learners need a safe environment to learn in. Some of the issues of concern, which some YL ELT teachers around the world unfortunately cannot take for granted, include the following: access to clean water, for example. Learners and teachers need to have safe water to drink and wash their hands. Access to sanitation. Learners and teachers need to have access to bathrooms with soap and water. Adequate teaching and learning environments. Classrooms do not necessarily need to be inside a building in some contexts. They can be outside as long as there is shelter from the elements and safety from danger. Codes of conduct. Teachers in public education systems in some countries need to manage classes of over 100 learners. Is that really safe for either the teachers or the learners? What codes of conduct are in place for managing these high numbers of people in a shared space? Let's now consider wages and what a teacher is expected to cover out of their salary. Teaching needs resources. So do the learners all have equal access to learning resources, or do YL ELT teachers have to consider ways to share these resources? Is basic classroom equipment available? For example, a chalkboard with chalk or a whiteboard with markers? What resources are teachers expected to provide by themselves? Are teachers provided with basic resources such as paper for use in lessons? Are there photocopying facilities, and who pays for these copies? While ELT teachers need to be creative and could use recyclable materials for making materials, of course, but they still deserve financial support with sourcing teaching materials. In several contexts, while ELT professionals are freelancers and are responsible for their healthcare costs as well as paying their taxes and their insurance. Obviously, as a professional, you will want to keep abreast of the latest trends of the ELT sector. And high-quality professional development is by no means cheap. Think about how much it costs to attend an international face-to-face ELT conference, for example. Are you being paid to an appropriate level that covers costs like conference attendance? While teachers need to be remunerated fairly so they can invest in their own professional development without this being a decision between growing professionally and keeping the lights on. And if you're also one of the tens of thousands of English language teachers in public education systems around the world, there needs to be much better provision for in-depth specialized training to enable professional early years and primary English teachers to better understand child development alongside ELT-specific subject knowledge. Far too often in YL ELT, teachers are expected to be what Carol Reed terms a jack of all trades, which involves working with children from preschool to final years of secondary. While English teachers often do their best when faced with staff shortages and timetable challenges, for example, there needs to be better understanding and acceptance worldwide that the skills needed for early years learners are completely different to those required for older teenagers who are almost young adults. And of course, being a multi-skilled professional needs very specialized training and support. As many of you will know, early years and primary ELT worldwide is largely staffed with female teachers. Therefore, we need to be mindful of the girls and the boys in our classes by ensuring that all of the children and teenagers we teach have their needs met with engaging topics, strategies, and techniques. And in this important quest for improved gender parity in YLELT, we need to consider how best to provide role models for all genders. When it comes to YLELT specifically, we need to redress the persistent gender imbalance by including men much more in early years and primary ELT. Another crucial issue is the discrimination facing LT users of English, who are frequently skilled ELT professionals with very strong academic backgrounds. As such, they must be treated fairly alongside their L1 user counterparts. Yet, in too many contexts globally, this doesn't happen in reality. For example, when an ELT teacher educator, who is an LT user of English, applies to work on a YL teacher education project, her CV should not be eliminated simply because her name is Iskra and not Wendy. Also, LT users of English are the majority of English speakers in early years, primary and secondary English language teachers around the world. ELT professionals need to be employed on the basis of their ELT qualifications and experience, rather than according to a nationality or a passport status. Professionalizing teaching English to young learners will undoubtedly lead to fairer treatment of our colleagues. I'd like to end this with a call to action by urging all stakeholders in the sector to professionalize our industry and to concretely improve the challenging day-to-day working conditions for all ELT professionals globally.